In 1993, in the town of Cherry Bottom, Pennsylvania, a boy named Darren is watching a taping of the children's program, Mr. Crockel's World. The presenter, Emmanuel Crocket, is very affectionate with the children and plays games with his two puppet friends, Blue and Bird. During the program, Darren's mother Rhonda calls him to dinner, but when the boy refuses, his stepfather Kevin tells him to sit down at the table. Even though he's not hungry, the boy is forced to eat his entire dinner, with his stepfather telling him he'll punish him if he doesn't obey. The boy's mother tries to control the situation, but Kevin soon loses patience and makes Darren eat everything without wanting to. The whole situation upsets Rhonda and she goes crying into her room, not knowing what to do. At that moment, something strange happens on the TV and Mr. Crocket, Blue and Bird look away, as if observing what's going on inside the house. The presenter then bends down and disappears from the screen, but soon afterwards, his eyes appear through the opening of the VCR. Seconds later, Mr. Crocket himself bursts through the door, saying he's come to help Darren. On seeing the intruder, Kevin gets angry and asks who he is, but suddenly his chair turns into a giant monster, which clamps down on his arms with its fangs. Mr. Crocket then sits down at the table, hands Darren a huge cotton candy and says he'll give Kevin a chance to be a better stepfather. To do this, he forces the guy to eat his dinner, just like he did with his stepson, but with some mysterious magic, Crocket turns his plate into spoiled food. Finally, he tries to make Kevin swallow his meal, but when the guy refuses, Mr. Crocket decides to try another way. So the presenter plunges the knife into the man's stomach and puts the food straight into his stomach. Not satisfied, Mr. Crocket also puts a hot iron inside the guy's stomach, while Darren watches, believing that it's all just a joke. From inside the bedroom, Rhonda hears her husband's screams and, when she arrives in the living room, she screams in terror at what has happened. In another part of town, Summer and her son, Major, are going to church to pay their last respects at the wake of her husband, Gerald. While Summer grieves the terrible loss, Major doesn't seem to take much notice and just plays his video game. When they return home, the boy continues to act as if nothing had happened, which upsets some of the guests. They tell Summer to punish her son for this and, at the same moment, the VHS in the living room is turned on by itself, with Mr. Crockle's voice being heard from inside the device. In the meantime, Major goes to play outside the house, when Rhonda appears and says that her son Darren is missing. She believes that Mr. Crocket has taken the boy and warns Major that the same will happen to him. Frightened, the boy starts screaming for his mother, who runs towards him and tells Rhonda to get out of her house. Before leaving, the woman tells Summer not to separate from her son, because if Mr. Crocket shows up, he'll never be seen again. Not knowing who she is talking about, Major and his mother return home, while Rhonda walks aimlessly, singing Mr. Crockle's theme song. Throughout the night, Summer remains in bed, saddened by her husband's absence, when she hears her son calling for Gerald. Arriving in his room, she sees Major having a nightmare and the boy wakes up, asking where his father is. Summer realizes that, all this time, the boy couldn't accept the sudden loss of his father and only pretended not to care, to hide his sadness. Summer then explains that Gerald isn't coming back and, to make up for the loss, she gives him the whistle that her husband used when he was a coach. His mother also says that if Major ever needs help, just blow the whistle and she'll be nearby. In return, Summer asks the boy to be a good son, because right now, the two of them need to come together and work as a team. Major promises to do this and so mother and son sleep together in the bedroom, comforting each other after a long day. However, the week passes and Summer soon realizes that raising a son on her own will be quite a challenge. As well as working hard to pay the bills, Major is restless, disobedient and doesn't give her a minute's break. In the midst of all the accumulated stress, the young mother hears a noise coming from outside and goes to see who it is. Mysteriously, Summer finds a mailbox on the ground and inside it is a cassette tape called Mr. Crockle's World. Believing that the tape might help Major to behave, Summer gives it to the boy, saying that she bought it as a present for her son. The plan works and Major is soon entertained by Mr. Crockle's show, giving his mother a chance to get some rest. Little does she know that the tape has a diabolical origin and other copies have been given to more young people. One of them is Carrie, who is watching the program at the moment, until her TV stops working. The girl then goes to ask her father, Bill, to fix it, but she finds him unconscious. Nevertheless, the girl wakes the man up by pouring a glass of water over his head. Grudgingly, the guy goes into the bedroom and says he can't fix the television. Carrie insists that he do something, but Bill gets angry and tells his daughter to leave him alone. Alone in her room, Carrie begins to sing Mr. Crockle's song when the lights in her room suddenly go out. Then the TV turns on by itself and a human hand appears and tries to force its way through the TV screen. Meanwhile, in the living room, the girl's father hears someone's voice and finds Mr. Crockle sitting in his armchair. The presenter says he heard screams and came to check if everything was all right in the house, but Bill gets angry with the intruder and, armed with a revolver, he orders the guy to leave. However, when he tries to shoot, the gun shoots a mere soap bubble and Bill realizes that he can't move his body. Then Mr. Crockle gets up from his chair with a menacing look on his face and says he's come to teach him how to be a good father. He starts singing a song and then forces Bill to point the barrel of the gun at himself. When he pulls the trigger, a soap bubble comes out again, but this time it presses against Bill's mouth and he starts to run out of air. Mr. Crockle continues to sing and the music makes the bubble get bigger and bigger, until at the end of the song, it explodes over Bill's head. Back in her room, Carrie hears a noise and goes to the living room, where she finds her favorite presenter inviting her to come on his show. Somehow, Rhonda manages to track Mr. Crockle to the location and sees him through the window of the house. The guy realizes he's being watched and, with a sinister expression on his face, he just ignores Rhonda and disappears with Carrie into the middle of the room. A few days later, Summer goes to check on her son and finds him once again watching Mr. Crockle's show. Suddenly, the recording seems to be faulty and the bird puppet turns its face towards the screen, as if it were looking directly at Summer. Afterwards, the tape continues as normal, but the woman turns off the television and calls her son to play together. In doing so, Major becomes enraged and orders his mother to put the tape back, threatening to throw the picture frame with his father's photo off the shelf. Summer tells the boy to let go of the picture frame, but he throws it on the floor and does the same with Gerald's trophy. This becomes the last straw for Summer, and as well as grounding the boy, she tells Major that she's tired of being his mother. The boy runs back to his room crying and, at nightfall, Summer regrets what she has done and decides to make up with him. However, as she crosses the hallway, she hears the sound of the television playing Mr. Crockle's tape. She quickly turns the TV off with the remote control, but seconds later, it turns on again. Summer continues to press the button on the remote control, but it no longer works and the TV's volume starts to increase on its own. Startled, she knocks over the television, but out of the broken screen emerges Mr. Crockle himself. Summer runs desperately to get the baseball bat, but when she tries to attack the guy, he uses a kind of magic pen to disarm her and creates a portal, through which he manages to escape to Major's room. Summer rushes to save her son, but it's too late and Mr. Crockle takes him through another portal. Desperate, Summer calls the police, but just like Rhonda, no one believes her story. Meanwhile, Major wakes up inside Mr. Crockle's show, along with Darren and other children. The presenter assures them that in his world, no one will suffer, but in reality, everything is just an illusion and both Mr. Crockle and his helpers are evil entities. The next morning, Summer decides to go after her son alone, when she finds out about the case of Bill and his missing daughter, Carrie. Seeing a pattern in all this, she goes to the library and finds out about another case in the 1970s, where entertainer Emmanuel Crockle captured a boy called Anthony. The subject was eliminated by the authorities and the child was rescued, but no one else knew of his whereabouts. Summer continues to investigate when she hears Mr. Crockle's music coming from the archive room. When she goes there, Summer sees the television showing the program, but this time the presenter speaks directly to her. In a threatening tone, Mr. Crockle tells her to leave him alone, otherwise she will suffer the same fate as her husband. To prove his point, he reaches through the screen with his arm and tries to grab Summer, who manages to break free and run away. On her way out of the library, she comes across a guy called Eddie Briggs, who saw the poster of her missing son and says he knows about Mr. Crockle. He tells her that his daughter, Lauren, also went missing months ago and looked for Summer, as she was the only one to survive Mr. Crockle's attack. However, she remembers that Rhonda also made it and the two decide to go after her, to find out more information. At night, Summer is trying to get some sleep when she sees Gerald standing in front of her. She hugs her husband and tells him what happened, but he starts acting strangely, blaming his wife for not taking proper care of Major. Gerald then removes his own skin like a garment and from underneath it emerges Mr. Crockle, who continues to threaten her if she insists on going after him. Fortunately, it was all just a bad dream for Summer and, seconds later, she hears Eddie calling at the door, saying he's located Rhonda. The two immediately set off for her hideout, but as they approach the entrance, they end up setting off the alarm. In a surprise attack, Rhonda rends Summer with a knife, but Eddie promptly pulls a gun on her and threatens to shoot. In the middle of this impasse, Summer tells her that they are there to help Rhonda, as they know about Mr. Crockle and her missing son. Seeing that the two are telling the truth, she takes them to her hideout, where she has set up a surveillance system with TVs and VCRs. Somehow, Rhonda has found a way to connect with Mr. Crockle's mind through the screens and gives them both a demonstration. As soon as she connects her mind to the TV, She shows images revealing the presenter's past, when he was just a failed artist. Shortly afterwards, Rhonda goes into a trance-like state and believes that Mr. Crockle will attack soon. The TV screen begins to show images of a girl arguing with her parents, next to a sign indicating their location. As soon as Rhonda comes out of her trance, Summer decides to go to the address to find the presenter and force him to bring Major and Darren back. When they get there, they see the house turned upside down and, on one of the walls, the body of the little girl's father, destroyed by Mr. Crockle. At the same moment, the presenter has just taken her into his world and senses that there are people nearby. He goes into the living room and, with his power, pushes the furniture aside and finds Summer and Eddie hiding. Before he can attack them, Rhonda attacks him from behind using a chair and the three of them try to get away. Unfortunately for her, Mr. Crockle finds her first and, using a piece of the chair, he hits her shoulder and pulls her away. Summer tries to help her, but Eddie finds the portal created by Mr. Crockle and sends the two of them through to find their children. On the other side, they see the set of the show completely destroyed and, on one of the walls, is the puppet Blue, in his monstrous form. The pair try to escape, but Mr. Crockle appears and traps Summer with his chair-shaped monster. He then calls out to the young people who have been captured and, in their midst, Major appears, who is under the presenter's control. With everyone gathered around, Mr. Crockle begins to tell the children a story about how his childhood was tormented by his father. However, when he became an adult, he took revenge on the guy, making it all seem like a mere accident. Since then, he has dedicated himself to preventing the world's children from being mistreated by their parents. Over time, he became the presenter of a children's program, where he met young Anthony. Like him, the boy also suffered from his parents and so Mr. Crockle decided to take him into his home. However, when Anthony's parents found out about his disappearance, they reported him to the police. That same night, the police raided Mr. Crockle's house, but he hid the boy in his closet and attacked the officers. Frightened by the scene, Anthony tried to run away and, in a reflex, one of the officers pulled the trigger on him. However, Mr. Crockle jumped in front of the boy, saving his life, but ended up being eliminated as a result. After this event, he made an evil pact in exchange for his soul, so that he would have a world of his own where he would take the children and punish all the bad parents. However, the guy reveals that he also eliminates parents who make children do boring things like homework and go to bed on time. Seeing the insanity of Mr. Crockle's plan, Summer vows to stop him and asks for Eddie's help to get her out of there. To her misfortune, the guy refuses and reveals that he is Anthony, the same boy captured by the presenter. The whole story about his missing daughter was false and, ever since Mr. Crockle was eliminated, Anthony had wanted to meet him again, because he was the only one who had treated him well in his entire life. Years passed and he saw the opportunity to join the presenter when he learned that Summer had survived his attack. Now that he has achieved his goal, Anthony intends to stay with Mr. Crockle and will eliminate anyone who tries to stop him. Finally, the man aims his pistol at Summer, but just as he's about to shoot, Mr. Crockle calls out to Anthony. The guy is happy about this, but is soon rejected by his idol, who says he only likes his child version, and not the frustrated adult that Anthony has become. Mr. Crockle then rejects him and tells the children to throw him out of his world. Anthony begs to stay, but behind him comes Blue, who attacks him by biting his neck and then begins to devour him. Summer is horrified to see all this and tries to get out of the chair by any means possible. Seeing her courage, the presenter says he'll give her a chance to get her son back if she can convince him to come home. As soon as he tells the chair to let Summer out, Mr. Crockle calls Major and his mother does her best to convince the boy to come with her. Despite the mind control, Major returns to normal thanks to his mother's words, leaving Mr. Crockle touched by the moment. However, he tries to convince the boy to stay in his world, where Major will be valued and no one will reject him. Upon hearing this, the boy stands up in front of his mother and apologizes, once again being dominated by Mr. Crockle's power. Summer feels defeated by her son's rejection, while the presenter celebrates that his plan has worked. Now it's time to finish the show and he suggests playing hide and seek. The villain tells the kids to go after Summer and whoever finds her and brings her head back will win a giant cotton candy. With no other choice, Summer flees far away, arriving in another dark warehouse, full of shelves and debris scattered everywhere. Suddenly, the children begin to surround the woman and Carrie, overpowered by Mr. Crockle, bites her leg. With a lot of effort, Summer manages to break free and escape again, when she encounters the monstrous version of the puppet Red. He starts scratching her with his claws, but Summer fights back, knocking him to the ground and stomping on him until he's gone. Seconds later, Mr. Crockle reappears and, as soon as he turns on the lights, he orders the children to pin Summer against the wall. As she has lost the game of hide and seek, the host draws a dagger with his magic pen and hands it to Major. With the boy overpowered by Mr. Crockle, Summer makes one last attempt to bring him back and blows Gerald's whistle in the hope that her son will recognize the sound. However, the boy ignores it and gives Mr. Crockle a hug, heading towards his mother, holding the sharp dagger. Without the courage to attack her son, Summer accepts her fate and Major approaches her with the weapon, leaving Mr. Crockle very satisfied. What he didn't realize was that it was all a setup by Major, who took advantage of the villain's carelessness to get his magic pen. Thanks to this, the boy manages to free the children from the grasp of Mr. Crockle, who becomes enraged and sets out to attack them. Summer then takes the magic pen and, with its power, she punches a hole in the villain's stomach, cutting him in half. She then draws a portal for everyone to return to the real world, but just as they were about to leave, Mr. Crockle starts crawling towards them. Even though he's wounded, the villain manages to grab Major's foot and promises that wherever the boy goes, he'll be close by. Summer quickly pulls her son back and the two go through the portal, escaping Mr. Crockle's world forever. A few days later, Summer goes to the church to help with an adoption campaign for the children who were captured by Mr. Crockle. At that moment, she comes across Rhonda, who managed to survive the attack and is happy to know that the nightmare is finally over. In addition to this good news, Summer takes Darren to her and, finally, mother and son are reunited again, after all the traumatic experience they've been through. The next few days go smoothly, with Major and Summer growing closer together. The boy has become more obedient and has been helping his mother with the housework. Everything is going well, but one morning, the school principal comes to Summer's house and says she's worried about some incidents involving the boy. It seems that a strange man has been following Major to school, acting as if he were his father. The principal has heard from the students that the boy's supposed father is threatening to take all the parents to another world. Summer knows very well who she's talking about and, while the two are talking in Major's room, the boy draws a picture of the presenter. He then goes to get another crayon when he finds the magic pen, indicating that Mr. Crockle is around and will continue to haunt the town for a long time. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.